Everybody stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Carol Westergaard.
Yes.
Steinkamp.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Boltman.
Yep.
Reese.
Yes.
And Moeller.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, public forum. Randy, did you have something you wanted to?
Just, I didn't know last night, asking my neighbor a question would relate to such kiosks today. Dan Brewster stopped by and talked to me. It sounded like my neighbor gave me, or maybe looked pretty bad. I've been in this town 34 years. And what Dan informed me of, because I'd asked my neighbor about the LED lights on his garage, because they shine right through my kitchen window, and of course bounce off the picture window on the south side of the house. I just wonder why he had, how come they were always on? And it was like throwing gas in the fire. The result. Anyway, Dan stopped by, talked to me, and I just wanted to confront the city council, what's going on. Just one simple question, and turn it into total chaos. As you know, I would like to sell my house sometime, and of course, maybe when the next, what I'm looking forward to is building a machine shed with living quarters and have my whole collection of John Deere tractors inside. That's my game plan. But that can be talked about at another time. Just wanted to bring up about the north neighbor, and Dan stopped and talked to me. Well,
Did you get it all settled then?
I haven't talked to the north neighbor. He's always scowling at me for some reason. As you know, I had total knee replacement. All the other neighbors and even people from other areas around town would stop by and help if I needed to get stuff in the house. Nothing from them.
Well, I hope you can get it worked out with the neighbor.
Yeah, and of course, the silent treatment is the worst thing. I had, of course, a lawn full of leaves up at Dakota Dunes for that surgery. 4 days after I was home, I was out with the John Deere walk behind motion mower, getting my lawn spick and span. It didn't make any difference. I had no business putting that much pressure on that new knee in that short time.
Well, we hope you get it worked out with the neighbor.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks for letting us know.
Thanks, Randy.
Yeah.
Okay, we have consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Boltman.
Yes.
Steinkamp.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Moeller.
Yes.
Okay, we have to approve one building permit from Mike and Krista Ketchum.
Yes. Eric has been out there. It is approved.
Motion to approve.
I'll make it.
Second.
So,
Roll call.
You gonna be a second, Tammy? Okay, Reese.
Okay. Yes.
Moeller.
yes.
Boltman.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Steinkamp.
Yes.
Okay, the Black Hawk Lake Protective Association. Jim Millenacher, you're up.
What do we got? Jim. Looks like we got Jim and Wes. So.
Yeah, I'll take off on the report,
Okay.
okay? Mayor Westergaard, Scott, and city council board members, thanks for inviting Jim and I to the meeting. Jim reminded me that we are now in our year 10 of a 30-year Black Hawk Lake restoration plan. And I think we'd all agree that we've come a long way. There's a lot of things left to do, but we've come a long way. And in that regard, we would sure like to thank you for your cooperation in all these past years and the projects we've done. And we hope to continue that effort and that cooperation in the years to come. It's certainly a cooperative effort that we need to nurture and carry into the future. So thank you. We're here primarily to review the budget for the upcoming vegetation management, which we all share in. And just briefly, the DNR has returned to a previous program where there's a 75-25 cost share. And from the we're getting funds from the Marine Fuel Tax Grant Fund from the DNR. With that being said, the Lake Protective Association has budgeted $1,250 for its share of the harvester, which represents 1/3 of the 25% cost share, and $1,875 for the herbicide and herbicide application that represents 1/3 of the 25% cost share. The cost share, of course, is City of Lakeview, Sac County, and the Black Hawk Lake Protective Association. We used a rolling 3-year average for expense on the harvester to obtain a total amount, and we used last year's herbicide and herbicide application number to come up with the total cost of that in order to get our share of the application. Jim and I will be going to the supervisors in Sac County in January to share this information with them. Just briefly to run over some Black Hawk Lake Protective Association completed projects in 2020. Of course, in cooperation with you and the DNR and Sac County, we do the lake vegetation management each year. As you all know, the costs were very low last year, and nobody paid much of anything. But going forward, that will surely change. We also completed our dredge fund, collected $200,000 for the lake dredging project. And that money is in the bank and awaits the DNR direction. So that's all finished. And Ben Wallace was at our October meeting and gave us a brief timeline of that dredging that I'll share with you briefly. The spoil site has been secured, and a signed contract has been done with Hallett. They hope this summer that they can do some engineering on that site in order to make sure that it's big enough to handle the material that they intend to take out of the lake. And also, they need to do some due diligence on the site to make sure that all the wells around that site will not be invaded by anything that they pump into the site. There are some rural water wells that they want to be sure that are safe. After those projects are completed, they hope to let a contract for dredging in the late fall of 2021, with dredging to be hopefully started in the spring of 2022. And of course, these are, I guess, would say tentative timelines, but that's what Ben shared with us at the time. One of the newer projects we had in 2020 was developing an all-new website for the Protective Association. We did this based on the fact that we needed better communication with our membership, both from a website and Facebook standpoint. One of the big features of the website will be the fact that members and non-members can go onto that site and become members and pay their dues right through the website, and not have to mail in any dues or mess with any kind of mailing. So we hope that's going to be a feature that everybody enjoys, and most probably will make it somewhat easier for us to increase our membership and communicate better with them. We also completed in 2020 our partnership funding on the fish barrier inlet and pump station. That money has been paid, and that project is due to start in January, in the next month, and be completed sometime in the spring. We also have some projects moving forward in 2021, and I'll briefly talk about that. You'll see that these have a common thread of watershed. The first project there is a watershed field day, watershed producer and owner field day, and this again is all about communication and communicating with our owners and producers what's going on in the watershed, and what are some of the programs that are available in the watershed, and as far as conservation is concerned, control both runoff and nutrients that finally end up in the lake. And the LPA would basically be funding a site and the food product and the food for that. The soil and water conservation and the watershed would be providing the information. Also, on Cardamom Creek, we're entering into some stream bank stabilization. Now, stream bank is basically structural treatment, like rock or concrete, designed to stabilize the stream bank and thus reduce erosion and thereby reducing sediment that runs into the lake. We have one stream bank stabilization project underway and funded for 2021, but there is much more work to be done. This is a very economical way to control sediment going into the lake when you compare the fact that the sediment that gets into the lake eventually has to be dredged out. So it's a very economical way to reduce sediment in conjunction with the conservation practices in the watershed. We are also in the process of applying for additional funding to support some ongoing stream bank stabilization projects that we are working with. So these watershed projects are, of course, cooperative with the Sac County Soil and Water Conservation District. That being said, we have some other kind of exciting news about that. Our district coordinator position, the DNR, has moved to a full-time position. So now we have a full-time person in that position with Ethan Thies. And we have worked with Ethan, and he's done a great job, and we're so happy that he's now in a full-time position, and we're looking forward to continuing to work with him. And of course, we'll also continue to support the lake vegetation management projects that are ongoing for 2021. We have our eye on a few projects down the road a little bit, and briefly, these have a lot to do with some urban conservation projects within the watershed, and they include some storm sewer mapping and sediment reducing storm drain projects, which would be in cooperation with the city most likely. And another project that's moving a little more rapidly is new public restrooms near the Town Bay Fish House and the boat ramp at 30 acres. There's a definite need, I think everybody would agree, especially at the Town Bay Fish House for another restroom. There's also been some interest in working with the DNR and the possibility of incentivized commercial fishing for rough fish if it's needed to control those in the lake. And lastly, of course, we continue to have our vegetation control projects that will be ongoing into the future. That sort of wraps it up. Jim, have you got anything to add to that?
I want to thank the council, the mayor, and you folks for what you do. You can see why our board picked Wes as president. He's been around the lake a long time. He loves Black Hawk Lake, and he brings a lot of business experience. So basically, they just voted me here to be here tonight as eye candy. Nothing else to say.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your attention. Is there any questions, I guess?
Wes, can you give me that, the dredging schedule again? You know,
You mean the timeline?
Yeah, the timeline.
There is some, they have a contract, a signed contract with Hallett for the spoil site. And then this spring and summer, they do what they call engineering, which is sizing up the spoil site to determine whether it's going to have enough room to hold the material that they're going to pump out of the lake. And then they also need to do their due diligence on the surrounding water wells. Then in late fall, early winter, they hope to let a contract for the dredging, with dredging beginning in 2022.
Okay, thank you.
Jim and Wes, I'd like to thank you on behalf of the city for the help the LPA does for the community. And the council's behind you 100%.
We are,
Thank you.
you guys have made a huge difference in this.
Thank
lake.
you.
Yep, thank you. It's been a great partnership. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Resolution 2054 is approving the development agreement with Milton's on Main.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Milton's on Main and our development agreement with them. So the development agreement begins on page 7. Just that as we described the business operations and described the building renovations, that information is pretty much taken directly out of their proposal. So this is what the Milton people would commit to doing, and then looking at a timeline for that. So the timeline for the building renovation by the 1st of June, and anticipation of being having the business open then 1st of July. But we do have Hannah and Amanda are with us on Zoom. Any comments on there? What's the status of your business so far?
Yeah, so our contractor said that he should be able to start doing construction beginning the 1st of the year, and no problem on the timeline. Scott, regarding the development agreement, we did go ahead and get insurance and list the city as an insured party, at least until the title switched over, so that you guys are covered during the time in which we don't currently have the title yet.
Yeah, so, and Court had provided me a copy of that today, so, yeah,
Okay.
we're good.
Hannah, can you give me a little bit more info on what the east side of the building will actually look like? I know you're gonna do an awning. You're gonna replace the windows. What size windows are you thinking?
Yeah, so we're hopefully going to do the lower half of from the top of the windows all the way down in some sort of stone, and then the top half will be done in a shaker shingle. And between the two, there will be an awning, kind of similar to what you see at Brotherson's Chiropractic, the black steel awning, but we're hoping to have ours open underneath rather than closed. And then we'll have 3 or 4 lights along the top with a sign underneath.
So I missed, how big are the windows? Just, I don't want specifics, but.
Same
Yeah,
size.
They're gonna be the same
Okay,
size. We're
okay.
looking to see if we can get 2 instead of 3.
Okay, all right, sounds good, thank you.
So can you explain what Milton's on Main means?
Yeah, so obviously the business is all of our family, that being the Millers and Waltons, and those married into the family. So Milton's is basically just a hybrid name of both of them.
I love it, that
I
is
love
great.
it. I love your idea. We're excited about this, or I am.
What all are you gonna have there? Can you tell me that again?
Coffee.
Yeah,
Coffee?
so we're going to have like home furnishings and decor. We'll have a little bit of boutique items as well as a specialty and like coffee bar. And then we want to have local merchandise, different local vendors, yeah. Yep.
That will be great.
Yes. We look forward to it. We have a motion to approve resolution 2054. Second,
I'll second it.
roll call.
Boltman,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Stankin,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Moller.
Yes.
Okay, we gotta have one more thing, resolution 2055, is setting the date for public hearing.
Right, so what this is gonna do is authorize the sale, basically stating now that this property is not needed for city purposes, we place it for sale to Milton's on Main, but we do need to have a public hearing before we can dispose of public property. So this would set the public hearing date for the next council meeting, which would be the 21st of December. And at that time, then everything will be in place, we'll turn around and sell the property and the project will be done.
I'll make that motion.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Moller,
Yes.
Stankin,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Boltman,
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Congratulations, lady, we're one meeting away.
You bet,
Thank
we're
you.
getting close.
Thank you. Okay, now we're gonna talk about the properties at 7th and West Street. We have the proud owners here to give the council just kind of what you plan down the road.
Well, first, we wanted to introduce ourselves, Larry and Mary Jo Delaware. We know some of you already, but some by face, maybe not by name. We've been property owners here in Lakeview for the past 13 years. We have a lot over by Boulders. And then we recently purchased both parcel A and parcel B of the Reardon property, and that's the two parcels where the houses currently sit. Many people since the sale a couple of weeks ago have been asking what our intentions are for these properties. You know, they wanna know, are we gonna rehab them, are we gonna tear them down, you know, what are we planning to do? Well, really, since it's only been 2 weeks, it's kind of early to know exactly what our final plans will be, but what we can say at this time is our goal is to get that property cleaned up. We've already contacted several excavating companies to receive bids for the house removals and also some tree removal. We do have a plan in mind for clearing out the remainder of the contents from the buildings. There's still quite a bit of stuff in those. Our goal is to have this phase 1 completed within the next year. Once this happens, the land will be a clean slate for further development. And eventually, our present plan is to have this be a residential housing area. And I assume you guys are very familiar with the property, but parcel A extends the entire depth of the block from West Street all the way back to Hanson Street on the east or the west. If this parcel were to be divided in half, there could be development coming from both Hanson and West Street. But when you look at parcel B, even though it's much wider than parcel A, it doesn't have the same depth because that last little panhandle or whatever is owned by the city at this time. And so, that strip of land is part of the salvage yard. And I guess what we're proposing, you know, is if parcel B could be squared off with Hanson Street, that would leave that strip along Hanson Street that also could be developed as residential housing. So that's kind of where we are with the properties that we bought.
So as we were talking about this last week and going through what the future plans might be and then this idea of squaring up that property. We also talked then about what the city might look at doing then with the salvage yard property and this area there where the depot is. So and we want to have that discussion too. Pass that around. But because we do know that there'll be some interest from private folks in utilizing that salvage yard property, but then also potentially the depot portion of it then too. So we know that the Delvos would be real interested in acquiring that depot property, but there may be some other interest in that too. So I'd want to have that discussion then with the council too about what the proposed uses of the salvage yard property would be. You know, really looking at the notion of is there proposed uses for what would happen if the city retained that property, or would we look at getting that into private hands then right away, and likely working through the proposal process again in order to do that.
I, for one, would like to see it go into private hands, but I think, you know, we have to determine where that sewer is, and we have to have that easement.
Right.
And the people that are entertaining the idea of purchasing it need to know where it is, because you don't want them building over that easement.
And that's what I had handed out to you was just really an unsolicited proposal about some interest in that land.
Mm.
And I guess just know that there are parties who are interested in that salvage yard property. And but do we need to think about that as far as how it impacts that depot portion of it?
Exactly. I'm all for trying to work out something here. I think we just have to look at both properties and then figure out how can we make this work. We're thrilled that you purchased it, we're thrilled that you wanna develop it. I guess I was a little surprised about doing residential from Hanson Street, that, I hadn't thought of that. But I thought maybe we could, you know, work out some kind of an agreement to square it up.
How big is that?
You know, if you flip, it's on page 15.
It's a half an acre, is it?
Yeah.
1.55?
I got about 0.55 acres, and the dimensions then are on that plat, or I've hand drawn in some of the other dimensions.
Okay.
So that's actually part of the street where the city workers drive down?
You know, it's not part of the street, but it's right adjacent to the street.
Okay. Why, what's the reason for running that an angle to start with, or what?
That was the original platted street there. Boy, it's, you know, hard to speculate why that was done, but it's.
So that, the depot then, what is the plan, to take it out of, just get it out of there? or-
Clean it up.
So that's, of course, the city's the proud owner of that right now.
Well, then I think
Sell it to
proud
somebody who
owner
paid
of
for
it. Get it out of there. All the
Well,
other chance.
I think I guess I'm thinking that it kind of depends on what we're able to do with parcel C, and if we need any of that parcel, that block 35. And if we only need part of it maybe or something, obviously we need to get rid of the depot. You know, so, and then that West Street, that building on West Street, I assume you're gonna take that down, that garage, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's on city street.
Yeah, so that was the one thing I really wanted to have discussion on, that old garage sits on the extension of West Street. And I'd ask the council to consider that the city would be responsible for that.
That's not gonna take much to.
Not much.
No.
Well, I would think when,
Probably take that down with a Bobcat.
well, and especially, you know, with whatever they're going to be doing, maybe we can coordinate. I think this is a project that we just need to do some planning on, and we're gonna work with you, I think. We want it done too, and we've got a housing committee now, and we have some, I don't know if that's, you know, if there's any of those options that you might be interested in that we could help with. I just think there's lots of it for discussion. But I think we do kinda need to look at that parcel C and figure out what we're gonna do there.
If we did have somebody that wanted to buy the, say the depot, the family, was he interested at one time in that?
Oh, I think so, but, there'd be some other folks who would be interested also.
Oh, but if you wanted to move it, whoever wanted to move it out of there in one piece, if they wanted to, let them.
It got moved at one time. But I think if we took proposals like we did on the 413 Main on parcel C, and I'd like to see it squared up and
Yeah,
let these guys buy it.
I would
And we
too.
wouldn't have to worry about it.
Right, I
Well,
would too.
And the guys that wanna do with parcel C, that 2.7 acres is plenty for what they wanna do.
So it's, how deep is it going from parcel A to parcel C? How deep is that parcel B going to the north?
69.9 feet at one end and 120 feet at the other.
70, it's basically 70, almost 280.
280, that's what I wondered, okay. Cause that's a lot,
270.
270.
One of them, I think, is 60.
Right,
I
69.
think it's 70, 60, 70, 70, or 60, 70. Of course, my vision could be wrong too.
I don't, mine looks like it says 70, 77.
It does, and then there's, the one to the south is actually the extension of 7th Street. And that's not marked there as far as what the width is, but it's probably 60 feet.
Okay, okay. So anyway, I don't know, I just think there's a lot of depth there, and you know, we could, I don't know if you guys are interested, but you know, if we squared it up and we took, if we had to take a little bit from the north and gave you from the west, but John doesn't seem to think that's necessary, and he probably knows better than I do, so, you know. But yeah, we're interested in squaring it up, we're interested in getting it all into private hands, and we're interested in working with you, so.
I guess I would ask you about timing on that then, because if we want to take proposals on the use of parcel C, would that be a proposal to utilize it as is, or would you look at squaring things up with the Delawos first, and then you have a proposal on the remainder of parcel C?
I think you gotta take one step at a time, and that would be the first step of squaring that up.
Yeah.
So that you'll know exactly what you got.
Right.
And the other thing is that we gotta still look at the sewer, where that's at in parcel C.
Yep.
So we gotta see how that affects your property, or if it does or doesn't, I don't have no idea, but we gotta find that information out first.
Right.
So we can get some ideas of what you plan on doing and what we can do, but we gotta, I think, take proper steps first. And then once we get the first part squared up, then we go to the second part.
Well, it's probably not, I'm guessing that if you're gonna take this next year to clean it up, that's kind of your timeline.
Right.
So there's time here for you to figure out, you know, cause you got your hands full doing that.
If I remember, the auctioneer said it can be cleaned up in a weekend.
Oh.
The outside,
saying that?
the outside.
Did he volunteer you for that?
Yeah,
So,
because I
You
think
know,
squaring it up is what important, we got people who want it.
right,
Exactly.
that sewer, I would think, Bill's not here, but I would think it would go down West Street and then it angles through there somewhere.
It does, it
I
goes
would
straight,
not think it would impact their property at all.
It does.
Okay, all right.
it goes to the end of West Street and then starts to angle off of there.
we
But I
need to
do
know-
think we need to
yeah.
know
We do
exactly
need to know
what's
It
there.
angles
We
to
talked
the
about that
what,
this morning.
northeast?
Goes
We
northwest,
need to talk about
West, oh.
yeah. You know, if you go stand at the end of West Street and just eyeball it going out to the old sewer plant, that's the flow that it would take.
Okay, yeah.
But I think we ought to get proposals on the parcel C minus that depots,
Yeah.
because we already know got somebody who wants that.
I'm good with that.
You know, I say if folks are okay with that, what I'm gonna do is I'll have a proposal form at the next council meeting and make sure that everybody's cool with the proposal form, and we'll get it out to the people.
Yeah.
Does the attorney have any comment?
Just in order to accept or consider proposals, what Councilman Steinkamp was saying is, I think the first step has to be whether or not you're gonna square off parcel A or not, because that's gonna affect the proposal that you get on parcel C.
Right.
We're gonna square it off.
And if we square off parcel A, are we going to pay for the?
Parcel B.
Parcel B.
Yeah, parcel B, I'm sorry. Well, we're gonna take block 35, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
depot, I'm asking
depot.
about the
Depot.
depot. The depot gonna be torn down prior to?
Yeah.
But
Not,
You want my opinion?
I would like not for us not to be the responsible party.
Well, that's true.
Yep,
That,
and square it off and sell it as is.
yeah, and just an understanding again, that we'd rely on Dave a little bit on that too, about if we would sell that property, we need to sell the property at market value, you know, and we can't just give it away.
No,
But as,
We'd,
yeah, as is, it probably wouldn't be worth as much as if we cleaned it up and then,
right, because then we can recoup that.
right.
Green would give us the cost, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it would.
He's been involved in this. Well, we'll contact him and see if he can tell us what he thinks it's worth.
I'd also tell the fellows that our housing committee is meeting tomorrow night. And I was talking with Alan Kessel about this property today, and he's real interested about that too, they sure would love to hear about any ideas that you have pending.
How often do they meet?
Been about once a month.
Tomorrow night.
We'll look at next year. I mean, after.
Next month.
After.
All right.
This is kind of a busy time right now.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, yep, you bet.
Well,
You wanna come up with a
for you to
proposal
think
for next
over.
time?
I'll have a
Figure out.
proposal form for next time, we'll work on locating sewer.
That'd be a
Okay.
good start.
Good.
Slowly but surely, that's how the wheels turn.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we said, a year,
Yep,
Yeah, there you go.
yeah,
because we have a life as well, so.
yep.
We're
So
excited,
how
we wanna
long
help you.
do you think the green, or to determine?
To get your price
The
on it.
price.
Mhm.
I wouldn't think that'd take too long.
Take too long,
I think it might be a phone call, really.
yeah.
But he'd have these questions that we would have to answer about as is or where is and how much and the city should make a pretty early determination as to how much of that depot property they might need for access to the city. That'd be the only thing I can think of that we needed for.
Because we're thinking parcel C would have access to West Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yep.
goes over here. I think this is just a garage.
Will you be talking to Mike then? Or
You
is
want
that-
me to call him?
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you would,
Yep.
because I'm also then, of course, real interested in just generally the process about where we are on the finalizing the auction land sales. And where we need to, what actions need to be taken on that.
I talked to Mike about that after we talked to Scott, and he said it'd be a two-step process. The first would be file an application to approve the sale and the contracts of sale, and then the second step would be allocation of the proceeds of the sale, which doesn't really involve the city. So the first step would be approval of the sale, which I think is gonna be they might have to have a hearing, to hear some complaints from the property owners, but that would take probably a month to get the hearing in based on COVID and everything. And then, after that, then the court, the deeds are ready, and Mike just needs court approval to sign them, so.
Okay.
And,
As long as we're going forward, that's what counts.
Yeah.
yeah, it's really just to me, it's a pro forma situation. We need to set it down for hearing, provide notice to the property owners that are in the partition action, wait for their objections, if any. If there are some, they'll have a hearing. If not, then the court will just enter an order approving the reported sale. And then the allocation of the proceeds doesn't really have anything to do with any of us here.
Okay.
Very good. Thanks, Dave. Okay.
Do you guys have any
Very good.
questions, or?
No, we're-
As long as we're going forward,
Yes,
as
we
John
are.
said.
Right.
Slow and
Forward is
steady.
better.
Yes.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
thank you.
We're excited to see it down the road.
Yes, we
Yeah,
are.
totally.
So are we.
Okay, Melissa, are you there?
Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Would you like to give us our opening proposal?
Yes. First of all, I want to thank you for allowing me to participate virtually. It's kind of weird to do it this way I assume Scott gave all of you a copy of the initial proposal,
Yes.
is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, so I'll just go right into it. We are, proposing a 5-year contract. That's the limitation as to what we can do. And I'm just gonna go article by article. In the preamble, no contract changes, language as is. Article 1, the agreement, same thing. Article 2, recognition and union security, no contract language changes. Grievance procedure, no contract language procedure. Seniority, Article 4, no changes. Article 5, layoff procedure, no changes. In Article 6, hours of work, we'd like to change this up just a little bit to help clarify. And as you can see here, just defining paragraph 1 is for Public Works and the Electrical Department. And then paragraph 2 is only for the Police Department. So I think there's been a little bit of confusion. I think it's that last sentence on the police paragraph. To qualify for callback time, the time worked cannot be contiguous to the beginning or end of an employee's scheduled workday. And I think that's because police can be scheduled 24/7. So we want to change paragraph 1 to account for that. And what we're proposing more or less is if an employee is called back to work, whether it's at the end of the day or they're called in prior to their regular scheduled work time, they should be receiving callback time. All right. Any questions on that? Okay. Article 7, wage and fringe benefits. Right here, all we would need to do is update the effective date to July 2021. We're proposing no changes to health insurance. Holidays, we'd like to add the day after Thanksgiving. Section 10, standby time. The guys wanted to increase that to $5 per hour in standby time. A lot of them compare themselves to emergency services, which I think it was the closest ambulance service is at $5 per hour standby time. Article 8. Well, this is our initial proposal, so. All right, and I appreciate that, thank you. Article 8, leaves of absence, no changes. Under miscellaneous, damage to personal items, that cell phone thing, you know, cell phones today are more expensive than ever. It's crazy how expensive they are. And I actually just did one with City of Jefferson and we increased it to $300. And that if they're going to be required to use it for work purposes and something happens to that phone, $300 on a $1,000 phone or even higher than that isn't much. So that's our proposal, is to increase that. Article 10, health and safety, no changes. Compliance and duration, Article 11, Section 1, we would need to update the dates. No other language in that section would actually change. Appendix A, for wages, we're proposing an annual wage increase of 5% for all employees covered by the agreement, July 1 annually. Persons holding a grade 2 water distribution or wastewater license, $3 extra. The lineman first class wage, $3 over lineman. The journeyman line worker wage, $3 over lineman first class. And then longevity, I'd like to increase that by 5 cents on each level. Currently, I don't know, other than Jeff and Brian, Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, how long has Cameron been there? Has he been there over 5 years?
He's coming up on 5 years, so, I'm not sure, but it's pretty close.
So currently it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, and then it's 5 cents, 10 cents, 15 cents, 20 cents, 25 cents. So we're asking to increase it each level by a nickel. And no other language in the contract would change. So that, in a nutshell, is our initial proposal. I know we're doing this differently than we've done in the past, where we do our initial, you do your counter, we go into closed session. Does anybody have any questions?
Wanted to have that discussion on that though, Melissa, about process. So we know that here within the next 2 weeks, then the city would prepare our opening proposal. We plan to present opening proposal then on the, at the city council meeting on the 21st.
Okay,
And then,
that's what I thought.
yeah, and then it's a question of how we would negotiate. And,
Well,
yep, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
It's just a question about that and whether we, you know, the city does have a policy that we implement on ourselves about, you know, if we're in closed session, people cannot participate virtually in a closed session. And we just implemented that on ourselves. So, it's a question of whether we would negotiate virtually.
Well, if you don't want to do it virtually, then we're gonna have to wait, because I can't travel right now. I'm under travel restrictions from my boss until the percentages for COVID decrease in the state. He's not gonna allow me to do it. And I understand that could cause an issue, you know, if we don't end up going into negotiations, closed sessions until after the first of the year. It is what it is, you know, I mean, I can't change it. So I guess that's up to you guys whether or not you want to make an amendment to your policy or negotiations, given the fact of COVID.
So I think what'll happen here in the next couple of weeks is we will get together and formulate our response, and we'll also have an answer then about what we would think process would be.
Okay, what I had visualized is that on the 21st, your next meeting, maybe we're last on the agenda. You do your counter proposal, then we could go directly into closed session. This is not ideal. It's not, and I get it. And I apologize for this, but
And I guess
I'm
I'd bring,
having to do this with some of my groups.
sure, just bring this up for the council, that the meeting on the 21st, we also will be doing our departmental needs assessment stuff, and just know that takes some time. And it'll be a longer meeting before we would get into the end where we would have potentially have negotiations.
Okay.
So as of now, we'll be ready with the response on the 21st, and we'll discuss what our feelings are about how we negotiate, and we will let you know before the 21st though, Melissa, about what that's going to be.
Right. Well, you know, and if it's you giving the counter proposal on the 21st, and then we have to schedule something after that for closed session, and we'll just have to work together on that.
Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you, Melissa.
Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a city clerk administrator report.
Yeah, let's take a look at our budget timeline. It's on page 16 of the packet. This timeline would lay out really the same type of a process that we've used in the past. And a lot of it's driven by the departmental needs assessment and working towards this capital improvements plan. So the proposal here is that the next council meeting on the 21st, we would do the departmental needs assessment. So we'd have all the department heads here presenting the information about what it is that they would see as priorities here for the next year or two. get a draft of the capital improvements plan together for January 4th, which would be the first council meeting of the new year. And then this does then propose a special meeting again for a city council goal setting session. Interested in your thoughts on that? Do you find value in that, and would you like to do that again?
I think it's a good idea.
I do too.
Okay? And we look at the 18th would be our next regular council meeting where we'd hear budget requests from all of our boards. We'd discuss property taxes and debt service and insurance. Okay, but at this meeting then on the 18th, the council establishes this maximum property tax dollars, and we set that hearing. That was that process change last year,
Yeah.
where we now have to have 2 public hearings associated with the budget process. But that means that by the 18th of January, we'd basically be establishing what the maximum property tax dollars would be. Look at having a special budget meeting, potentially. If we do a special budget meeting, it likely would be on January 25th. Or, and this would be to review the budget and review line items. And we have historically done that as special standalone meetings, kind of a big deal. And ends up, that would be on January 25th, but if you wanted to do that without a special meeting, you could do it at the regular meeting on February 1st. February 15th, it would be time to hold that public hearing on the maximum property tax dollars. And then we'd also pass the resolution to set the date for the public hearing on the budget. So by the 15th of February, basically the budget work is done, and we'd hold the public hearing formally on the 15th of March. Any comments? Is that you okay with that process and the timeline, or you want to take a look at something different?
Sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Yeah.
Do you look forward to it? I
Nothing
know
more
you
excited than a budget.
Right. Couple other things for you today. Our Camp Crescent project, for sure. All of the concrete work on the Camp Crescent project is delayed till spring. But Chewy Moore was down there today, took out a couple more trees, and is starting to prepare the site then for that cabin project. We just want to get the dirt over there for the cabins so that it has a chance to sit through the freeze thaw here this winter. And a little bit on sewer issues and out at the lagoon. That punch list is on page 17 of the packet. And let's just talk through the remaining things there. About seeding and mulching all of the areas that are disturbed by construction. That needs to be done. The Grundman Hicks, will still refer to that as Grundman Hicks, because they'll be doing the work. And they have a subcontractor lined up to do that.
When are they gonna do it?
Spring. That nothing be done there till spring.
That's good.
Okay, add rock to all of the roads. They had requested to get Healy on that and get the rock out there soon. And don't have a timeline on that about exactly when it would be, but it really does probably need to be done before spring, because there's some areas out there that are a problem if we don't have a better rock base by that time.
So when are you gonna know?
Here, I don't know. They're working with Healy on it right now. 14 is about putting some caps on some anchor posts. Okay, 19, replace that cracked countertop. They have it. They have the countertop. It's not replaced. 26 talks about filling a missing section of fencing, and it confirmed now with Steve Watts owns that land right to the south of the access drive. And that area there was put in so that at the time it was Schultz's could put in an access gate there. Okay, well Steve still wants to put the gate in there, so he will take care of that, and we won't fill in that missing section of fencing. A little bit about the settled area around the Saggers that just needs some fill. 31 ends up being a big deal. Seal off the weir plate in the Sagger control structure. That is, that's the flow measurement for our effluent. And you know, we've talked before about how the influent and the effluent aren't the same. That is probably a big reason why they're not the same. Just that a weir plate just sets the exact height of where water can flow over it. And then you have an ultrasonic flow detector above it that's measuring the height of that water. And this is a problem because water flows right underneath that weir plate, you know, and so it's not getting an accurate reading because water's going underneath it as opposed to going over it. You know.
You're gonna fix it?
But yes, that is certainly their responsibility to get that done. They do have employees coming back on Wednesday, running expenses. Erosion control yet, on manhole 6 and 8, that's actually over on Hauser's. That's, really that's it. The biggest part of the project yet deals with all the rock on the roads, and there's quite a bit of that to be done. As far as, you know, the leak, problems with leaks that we've had out there, we just don't notice any problems now. We'll continue to monitor it, and particularly, I think, monitor it in the spring again, and see what happens come springtime.
And when did you tell us at one point you anticipated doing the acceptance of the project?
Next December?
We wanna make sure that the project's done before we do that, and if it's spring, that's fine. You know, we're in no great big hurry to accept the project.
Or will we know in the spring? I mean, we just wanna make sure we don't have any leaks.
Sure.
So the lagoons need to be full.
Yep. And then-
Everything needs to be, you need that Sager system working.
Yep.
And that won't work again until when?
It's working now.
I know, but you only use it part of the year, right?
And you use the Sager system all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, and it is, the purpose of it is during the wintertime. You know, that's when it's actually used to address the ammonias. So,
But
you know,
you're able to monitor that it's working correctly during the summer?
oh yes, yep, it's a requirement, we still have to test it.
After 3 years when they accept it, who's gonna be the warranty guy, because Brendan Hicks is gone now?
I'm getting
The
smarter.
warranty guy is the bond company,
Bond company, okay.
okay? The bond company has arrangements with what amounts to the new Grundman Hicks company to actually finish the job. So,
So what would be the process then? We come to the end and we're happy with whatever's going on. Do you have a final walk around with the bond company or just with Grundman Hicks, or how's that work?
I'm not sure.
Well, that's
'Cause
supposed to
this-
find out so that we have a.
As far as how involving the bond company in this, of course, is kind of a new deal for us. We've never had to go down this road, so.
Well, they're paying the bill, so I imagine they'd wanna be there.
Yep.
So would our engineer.
Huh?
So would our engineer.
True.
Yes.
Good point.
Also, just know that the city did receive a notice of violation about effluent limitations, and we got this last week, but it was for September. And during that time, sometimes we were running off of one cell, sometimes we had no effluent going out. It was during the time of those leaks. So the treatment was inconsistent. And we've received this notice of violation from the DNR, but our only obligation is to respond to it. And we have good substantial responses to why things were the way they were.
We need to know who's gonna go to December 10th over the Wall Lake.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're limiting too.
Right.
Is that the housing one, right?
that's the housing one. Yeah,
I really wanted to go to that, but I saw they're limiting two, and I really think that Alan should go if he's available.
okay.
Or
Take
someone from that housing committee.
I bet Nemaha won't show up.
So maybe
could
we
take
can
their
have their
place.
tickets.
Well, that's just, you know, if we had interested people going, I'd just contact Brandy and request that we could have more people.
I'd like to go, but I would like someone from that housing committee to go, you know, preferably Alan, but if he can't, maybe someone else would. One of the officers, I would think.
You wanna go?
Yeah.
It's the 10th?
Yeah, it's Thursday.
Oh, it's this
And
Thursday?
Yeah.
Yep, I can do that. I'm not moving.
Just go.
Employee Christie,
One,
Christmas
two,
Eve.
see, that's four.
Yeah, that employee
Two from that
Christmas,
side and two from this side?
There you go.
You could have mine too.
Yeah.
the,
Make sure you eat before you go on.
that's right, no dinner.
Oh, didn't I?
But we'll have our little Christmas get-together for the employees, and this is just, you know, Kay and I and Ruth and the mayor, will bring some food for the employee. 23rd, and that's, mid-morning on the 23rd, 9:30, 10 o'clock. And if the council can attend, that'd be great.
Motion to adjourn,
Yo,
second,
second.
in adjourn.
I won't be able to do either one of them meetings,
Okay.
because I'll be in the bus unless you want to deliver.